So I've been incredibly worried and anxious about my post-birth body, and I wanted to talk more about how my worries and anxiety around what I look like and body imagery has changed in my 20s compared to now and post-birth. This is quite a vulnerable video for me just because it's not something I like talking about a lot. It's an area of interest, shall we put, or shall we say, that is a little bit difficult for me. When I was younger, I always thought I was really, really fat. I wasn't, now that I know that, but I did think I was. And I had a very body dysmorphic attitude towards myself. I'd wake up every morning, literally like pinching my fat. You can see my belly maybe just hanging out now, my pregnant belly. Pinching my fat to see if I'd gain like more body fat or skin literally overnight. And I used to do it every single morning. I used to go periods of times without eating and then binge eating. I was extremely self-conscious about what I would wear, about being in a bikini, about my tummy. So for me personally, my areas of anxiety are my stomach and my arms. My arms, not as much as my stomach, but increasingly as I've got older, I'm much more conscious of what my arms look like compared to my tummy. And I thought it might be a really good idea to talk about this a little bit more, because I think a lot of women do worry about how their bodies change as they age, especially as we age and as we get pregnant. And so I'm going to break this video up into two parts. One before pregnancy and one during pregnancy and post-pregnancy. As I said, I've been really, really worried about kind of what I've looked like throughout my whole life. And it wasn't until the last kind of 3 to 4 years that I stopped really caring. I guess I just grew up and something changed in my mentality around what I was worried about when it came to my image. I will always be self-conscious of my tummy, but I do think that everybody is, or most people are, very aware of that area. Who knows why? Because maybe that's where we associate like attractiveness from. I'm not really sure. It's also a big part of your body. Like it makes up a third of your shape. So yesterday I did some digging and I wanted to look back at pictures of myself and what I looked like when I was younger. And the times in my life that I was most worried was the times that I actually looked goddamn incredible. I look back and think I was so gorgeous. And at that time, I just couldn't see it. I could not, no matter how many times you would tell me, you look amazing, like you should like really appreciate what you look like, you're so fit, you're so healthy, I would just not believe you. And these pictures, honestly, I do not ever picture myself or imagine myself looking like that until I see photos. And I'm like, gosh, I looked incredible. And I didn't feel it. I felt worthless. I felt rubbish. I felt so insecure about, and I'm laughing because it is literally so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous how I felt, because if it was somebody else and I was telling them that, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I would dream of having your physique. As I've got older, I've become a lot more aware of caring about body image. I have a lot of friends who have eating disorders and anxiety and body dysmorphia and all of that. And as a result, I'm so much more aware. I'm somebody who will always care about what I look like, no matter what. And that is just because of who I am, my personality. I also love health and fitness. And as a result of health and fitness, you are much more not concerned, but aware about your image and things like muscle development and posture and skin health. So it doesn't just come down to kind of being fat or skinny or being muscly or not muscly. It's a whole kind of persona that you bring to the world and that you want other people to basically see you as. So I was looking at these pictures and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to put them up and talk, like just show you them, because look, I just cannot believe how deluded I was as a youngster. Also wanted to point out that the reason I want to talk about this is because over the last, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks, I've been so anxious about my body image. I've really gone through waves over the last year since being pregnant about what I look like and everything, because your body changes so drastically during pregnancy. And I've always thought that I'm somebody who gains weight really quickly. But when I started looking at these photos, I would look at like photos in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, and I looked amazing in all of them. Don't get me wrong, my body changes, and you'll see that. I'm going to put that up now. But my body shape definitely changes over time. I might be more muscly, I might be more skinny. I might be more, and what I mean by skinny is like less muscle tone, just more like, I don't know, like not as much body fat, but less muscly as well at the same time. And I'm not using skinny in a derogatory term. Like, for me, that's not a triggering word, or fat is not a triggering word. So I'm really sorry if that does affect you, if you're listening. But it is just a descriptive word, and it's not something that I put too much pressure on. So I look at myself over these years and years and years, and I'm like, God, I remember feeling so insecure at that event, or wearing that outfit, or whatever it was. And now I look back and think, gosh, I looked beautiful. And now, because I'm going through this even more drastic change, rewind, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, I've definitely got bigger the older I get in terms of just like general thickness. I wonder if that's just a growth thing. Like, as we age, we get bigger. I know that naturally we gain 0.5 kilos for every year that we live. Could be a bit of that. Could be the fact that I'm strength training a lot more than I ever have. So I just look bigger, which is absolutely fine with me. As long as I look healthy, I'm pretty happy. And as long as I can fit into my clothes comfortably, I'm very, very happy. And what I mean by fitting into clothes comfortably is not like I'm wearing a size 8, but I'm a size 10. It's more the fact of, I feel like clothes look nice on me, and I'm wearing clothes that are flattering for my shape and figure at that time. Basically, I've realised in the last 24 hours that I'm completely deluded, and I don't gain weight very quickly. My body does change, and that's a natural process. But over this time, I have been a lot harder on myself than I have in more recent years. And during the first kind of few months of my pregnancy, I felt really insecure. I just felt soft, and I don't know how to describe that except for being soft. I felt like I looked unwell, like my skin color wasn't great. I mean, I was pregnant during winter, so my first trimester was during winter, so that never helps. I had no motivation to kind of exercise. I was eating a lot less, which is like weird for me because pregnancy, but I didn't have any appetite my first trimester. My second trimester, very similar. I started to feel even more self-conscious of my image, because at that stage in pregnancy, you don't look that pregnant. I mean, I don't look that pregnant, but I do think a lot of women don't necessarily look that pregnant. They just look like they've got a little bit of tummy. I just felt rubbish. And I remember talking to a friend and saying, like, did you feel confident in your pregnant body? And there's so much pressure to love your pregnant body and love your bump and feel confident. And I didn't actually get to that point until the middle of my third trimester. So I think these expectations around how you feel in your pregnancy can drastically change. And I think it's really important to point that out and just change that expectation, because it's just not reality. You don't feel from day one amazing. You don't feel beautiful. You don't feel gorgeous. You don't feel in love with your body. It took me let's take it back, 6 months to get to that point where I really liked what I look like. And I didn't do much to get to that. Like, I'm just very lucky, I think, genetically with my bump and the fact that I stayed active and drank loads of water. I've been the most hydrated I've ever been in my whole life. So I've got so many compliments, which don't actually bring me that much satisfaction, but they are a reminder that I am amazing and I am beautiful and I do look great. When you do feel rubbish and you feel ugly and you feel low and you just want to give up and you're sitting on the sofa like, just am feeling like the ugliest person on the planet. I don't know if you relate, but this is how I feel. And recently, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've not been in love with my body. I am obviously much bigger. I'm getting to the end. I'm in my 37th week of pregnancy, so I'm almost full term. And I've got wider from the baby just because the baby is getting bigger. I'm eating so much food now. I'm so hungry compared to the first and second trimester. Whereas I lost my appetite, now I've really regained an appetite, and it's an appetite for rubbish. It's not healthy food. So that also makes me feel super sluggish, super rubbish about myself, super rubbish about my body. I'm sure my digestive system is suffering. I feel like my skin is not as nice as it was, but that's just because of the sun and dehydration on my skin. And also, I'm not used to pregnancy skin in the sun. It is different. I peel a lot, and I never used to do that. So I know that your skin is a lot more fragile, I guess, during pregnancy due to the hormones. So it's just things like that build up and make you feel really rubbish about yourself. I wanted to talk about that in particular because there are so many women on these groups and forums that I follow on Facebook that share how insecure they are about their bodies, or their stretch marks, or the size of their bump, or how they're gaining weight, or what they can do to manage their weight. I mean, weight is such a horrible word to use for this because it literally doesn't matter how much you weigh. But what does matter is how you feel, because that will really affect your mental health. And body fat as well. So looking at body fat correlation to your physical health correlation. And I don't want to go into that right now just because that's a whole other video, but my background is sports science, and I really understand the importance of body fat percentage depending on the individual and what that can mean for long-term health conditions. So that's what we should be focusing on, not our aesthetics, our health. And that's something that I've had to be really aware of in the last few weeks, especially because I have been really hard on myself. And I think it can be easy to get into a bit of a rut of negative self-talk during pregnancy about what you look like. There is a lot of anxiety about what to wear because, to be honest, maternity clothes are really nice. Maternity clothes that fit you well are really, really hard to find. I found 2 dresses and they've both been secondhand. I've looked at buying dresses and none of them compare. So it's like a really uncomfortable new experience for many, many women when it comes to body image and pregnancy, especially if you're somebody who has a past and previous mental health challenge around body image and what you look like and what you feel like. So this is just short and sweet, but it's something that I thought would be really important to discuss. I have written some notes, so I just want to make sure that I've covered everything I wanted to talk about, which I think I have. But yeah, to basically summarize, is body image is a constant worry for so many women and men. I totally get it from a male side of things, but for me, I'm a woman and I feel like that's who I relate to. But it is a constant worry, and it changes. Your perception of what you look like changes. And just so that you're aware, if you do become pregnant or you're pregnant, you're not alone in the world when it comes to worrying about your pregnancy body. Oh, and then just to finalize, also post-pregnancy body. Oh my God, I'm so worried about that. I have been dying to run and exercise and do all of these things, but because I'm so tired and my body just hurts all the time now, because I've reached that point on 37 weeks, as I said, it is a lot harder despite being active throughout my whole pregnancy. I'm really struggling now to exercise and eat well. And I think that is really impacting the mental health side of things. But I also think I've got this massive motivation to go and do things mentally, but physically it's not there and it's not possible. So I've also been thinking about what I'm going to look like when I've had the baby, how saggy my skin is, how much body fat I've gained, and all of that. And that they are things I'm constantly worrying about. I'm not feeling excited about my body anymore. I am incredibly worried about how my motivation is going to be when I've had the baby, what my time is going to look like. Am I going to be able to go to the gym? Am I able to go and run? Am I able to have the motivation to cook healthy meals and all of those things? So that is a massive anxiety that I've had since kind of week 35 and beyond. I'm week 37, so at least 2 weeks of worrying about this. The closer I get to having the baby, I think that just massively increases. I am just super anxious about that. I'm obviously really excited about having the baby, but these worries and anxieties haven't formed until recently. So it's a new part of my pregnancy experience. And I just hope that I'm able to love myself, my body, and the way that I look and feel confident when I've had the baby.